Bet you never saw this one coming, did ya? So, speeding pressures are now extended to games, and because this is a game, I'm going to be extending this to 5 minutes rather than 3, since a game is longer than the 22-minute long episodes. But anyways, let's talk about the game itself. This game I just recently beat, and I wanted to at least give my quick thoughts about it to see if people would like to check the series out. So what's the story about this game? Well, every character has their own independent story. You play as 4 different characters. Akiyama, Sajima, Tanimura, and Kazuma Kiryu. Basically, you play as these 4 characters at different intervals in the story, and each of them have their own condensed story, like their own backstory and otherwise. Like, for instance, Akiyama is a loan shark. Sajima is a legendary hitman who's been waiting 15 years for a death sentence. Tanimura is one of the beat cop police officers in Kamurocho. And then you have Kazuma Kiryu, who's dragged back into the life of the Yakuza for an event that happened in the previous games. Each of these characters have their own condensed story, and honestly, I think that's the way it should be. But they do actually connect with each other later in the story, because there is one element within each of their stories that connect them. And I'm not going to spoil what that is, but trust me, it does connect them all together, and it does lead to some really cool moments when it does all connect all together. So when it comes to story, it's actually spot on. I think the story is really good, and I know some people are about to say, wait a minute, what if I started with 4? How am I going to understand the story if it follows the story from the previous games? There is a mode called Reminiscence, where you can actually watch the story in a sort of condensed hour-long movie, so that way you can be up to speed with what's going on in the current Yakuza game. So if you're starting with Yakuza 4, no worries, it's got you covered with Reminiscence, so this way you can be up to speed with the story. This also leads into characters, and I will say this right now, characters are pretty spot on as well. All of them have their own kind of personalities. You have Akiyama, who is the very smug, but honestly very suave loan shark. You have Sajima, who is the cold, but very honorable, hitman. Then you have Tanimura, who is a bit corrupt in his nature, but he still has good intentions with what he tries to do. And then you have Kiryu, who honestly just, wants to lead a normal life, but gets dragged back into an old life. All of them have their own personalities that honestly make me gravitate towards all of them, and it really makes me like these characters. And hell, even the characters that we run into during the story are really likable as well. Side characters, villains, and otherwise. All the characters are likable in nearly every way, and that's what makes this game sell itself in many ways, because you have a great story to go along with these great characters, and that's a good thing. Now, I know, story and characters is only one thing. What about the gameplay? Now, this is going to be a little harder to describe. The gameplay is pretty much like Grand Theft Auto, except without the vehicles, without the guns, and without the massive, massive city. I know that probably sounds really crappy as hell, but it really isn't. The little area of Kamurocho is actually kind of large, and instead of using guns and stuff to fight, you use martial arts skills, because every character that you play as has their own sort of martial arts skill that they know, which lends itself to different play styles. And you do play as every character when you play the game. It's not like, oh, you have to pick them in different orders. No. You play them at different intervals, and as you fight with each character in different fights and do different events, you gain experience, which allows you to gain more fighting moves, and you can also gain more moves through either revelations or masters, which I think is a really cool system to employ for a game like this. Being able to level up either through just regular fighting, or to gain new abilities either through books, masters, or revelations as they're called. Pretty much the game is a sandbox game. It's a sandbox game, but it's a sandbox beat-em-up. And honestly, the gameplay is really good. If you watched my things you want to check out but don't Wolfkeen Talks episode, you would know that I showed off some of the combat, like being able to hit a guy in the kneecap with a baseball bat and then knock his face all the way into next week, putting a freaking basket on their head and then spinning it around like a freaking top. How does that even work? It's like the combat itself is nonsensical and not really realistic in any way, especially since you could throw a guy off a roof and he'll be back on that roof after the battle's over, but I think that's what gives the game its charm, and honestly what gives it a standout thing than most other games that I play these days. So, gameplay, story, and characters are really freaking good. It's probably one of the best things about it. So all in all, what do I think about Yakuza 4? Well, as a newcomer to the Yakuza series, and as someone who's never played the previous ones, it's not a bad starting point. You have the Reminiscence mode, which allows you to understand the story up to this point. The characters are spot on in nearly every way, especially with voice acting. No, the voice acting is Japanese, but we have English subtitles. The gameplay is really freaking fun, and the story is actually not bad. You could follow it easily, and to be honest, it feels like a crime drama in some cases. It feels like a crime drama, the Yakuza series, when I think about it. It reminds me of Mafia in some cases, just without the gunplay. Well, there is guns, but that's more like for the fist combat. You know what I'm trying to say. All in all, if I had to say anything about Yakuza 4, I'd recommend it. If you want something new in your library and want something more interesting to play in your life that seems like you wouldn't normally play it, check out the Yakuza series. It's not bad. It's really fun, and I think it'd be a great game up people's alleys. And that's my speed impressions on Yakuza 4.